Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Anna Speer from Auctions Plus. I'm here today streaming to you from Beef Australia in Rockhampton. And today I have with me Mr. Troy Setter, a dear friend and also CEO of Consolidated Pastoral Company. Troy, thanks so much for spending some time with us this morning.
Thanks, Anna, for having me here at Beef Australia in the Auctions Plus booth.
So today we're going to continue the conversation about change, people, building relationships, and the importance of leadership in the ag industry. And I feel there's no person better fit to do that than Troy. So Troy, can you take us through your career path or the journey from Jackaroo to global CEO?
Thanks.
That's all right, Angus.
Thanks, Anna. I was left school and was fortunate enough to get a job at Jackaroo with Twine and Pastoral Company down in the Riverina, and worked for them for about 10 years, doing all sorts of things and doing a bit of study at the same time, and worked in cotton and wheat and sheep and cattle and beef and grains and trading and all sorts of things. And then moved across into more feedlotting and farming and beef, across into some more feedlotting and farming and exporting, and then I went and ran North Australian Cattle Company, a large export company out of Northern Australia, predominantly exporting beef cattle, but we also did dairy cattle and a few other things, and then ran a shipping company for a while, and that was on the ship operations side, and then moved across to AA Company, and had a good time working at AA Company, and now I'm at CPC, which is an absolute pleasure and honour to work with a great team of people at CPC.
So Troy, did it ever cross your mind 10, 15 years ago that you'd go from a Jackaroo to someone who is standing on stage in New York City talking to global investors? I mean, it's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, sort of take each day as it comes and enjoy it. So no, back when I was 17, mustering and flying sheep and stuff like that, no, I never thought I'd be where I am today. That's been fortunate enough to work with some great people and learn from some outstanding leaders and some that aren't so outstanding as well. And you learn a lot from people like that, and that's been great for me.
And I think I'm correct that you also completed the Australian Rural Leadership Program at some point. What did you take away from that?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough when I was in feedlotting that the Australian Lot Feeders Association supported me through the Australian Rural Leadership Program. That's a great program. I got to really get challenge myself and in team challenge. I picked up a lot about working with a variety of people from variety of backgrounds, particularly traditional landowners. That's been really helpful, that experience at the RLP. Intense media, intense crisis management. We spent a lot of time when I was doing the RLP on issues management and crisis and media management, and that's been really helpful in my role in the last few years.
Yeah. So let's have a bit of a look at CPC. What are some of the changes that you've seen over the past 3 years or past 4 years? What are some of the changes you've put in place?
So at CPC, we've in the last 4 years, CPC today has 400,000 head worth of capacity for cattle across 16 cattle stations across Northern Australia and 2 feedlots in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. If you go back 4 years ago, we had capacity for about 340,000 cattle. We've sold 5 stations, leased them back, bought 2 more. We've developed a lot of land. We've got a lot of land that cattle don't graze and don't use, and we've put watering points down. We've invested heavily in genetics, a lot more Angus genetics, a lot more tropical composite genetics, Wagyu, as well as our Brahman genetics. We've invested further in our 2 feedlots in Indonesia. That's been quite profitable for us. And we've invested in the team and the people, and I think I probably should have said that at the start. It's so important to invest in the team, communicate with them as best as you can, and we've really worked hard and our people have worked hard to develop such a great business.
Yeah. So how important is training? You go back to the good old days when your ringer didn't really need to know anything other than how to ride a horse. How important is it now within your team?
Training is really important, and experience is really important. And there's saying that there's not much common sense left anymore. It's common sense is uncommon. So you've got to induct people into the business. You've got to explain what success looks like. We have a very strong focus on safety and accountability. The pressure on our junior supervisors, I mean, our head stockmen who are in their mid-20s, they might have 5 to 20,000 head of cattle responsibility. They'll sort of have 8 to 30 staff underneath them. I mean, they're trying to run cattle, run properties, machinery, work through they're developing and growing in life as well. So we've got to give them that life skills as well as the technical skills. But the communication skills, the ability to communicate two ways is so important for all of us, and it's something that's a continual investment that we all need to make and we need to continue to make in our teams.
And I believe diversity has been a pretty significant part in the CPC evolution. I myself was on Newry Station back in 2004, but tell me a bit about some of the legend women that are in your team. Yeah,
at CPC, diversity is really important. And we haven't actually had any targets of number of female employees or number of Indigenous employees or anything like that. But by making sure the door's open to everyone, giving everyone encouragement, everyone training, and really trying to break down barriers. We're roughly high 40s to 50% female workforce at CPC. We've got a reasonable number of Indigenous workers. And it's not just gillaroos on the ground or ladies working in the office. We've got Emily who manages the Vern station. We've got several great female head stockmen and assistant managers. But Jackie, who's been with us for over 25 years, is our Chief Development Officer. She started at Newcastle Waters on the ground there 26 years ago. So we've got some great females in our business in Australia. But also in Indonesia, we've got Nenny, who's our vet over there. So we've got a young lady who's leading a team of about 60 guys around animal health and animal responsibility. We've got Brooke, young Aussie lady working in Indonesia. And we've got plenty of great women like Stacey, who's just walking past here now, who's a really valuable part of the management team in central Queensland for CPC.
Awesome, thanks Troy. So let's have a little bit of a chat about the Indonesian feedlots and the current state of the live X space. I mean, how are we situated? Is it going to continue, or are we just one more bad story away from the end of the industry?
Look, what we saw with the sheep footage recently, not acceptable, can't condone it. Not going to defend it. There's parts in that though that are reality of life in terms of what an animal looks like when it dies, and the general community doesn't know what rigor mortis looks like, and some of those things about sheep are cooking things just aren't correct. That's what a dead animal looks like after 12 hours, and that's it's confronting for people. But I mean, live export's got to do the right thing. It's got to continue to do the right thing. We've got to keep trying for continuous improvement, but we've also got to be doing that on farm or in station. Our two feedlots in Indonesia that we export the cattle live from Australia up there. I mean, we have less than 1% mortality in all stages of that, which is better than on farm mortality. But we've got to continue to improve on that. It's a really good value add for Northern Australia. It provides healthy competition to the market. It provides challenges and opportunities for markets. It opens up new markets and employment in Northern Australia. But we've got to get it right. We've got to continue to tell our story. Farmers are really good at doing great things, but we're at best lucky to tell each other about it. We certainly need to tell people outside the farming space about some things, exciting and cool things that go on, but also the responsible things that we do on our properties, in our feedlots, in our abattoirs to look after animals.
Yeah, look, I think it's a huge challenge about how do we get our story out there. And I see you wearing green today again for the tree clearing. I did hear this morning that 93% of all applications to the government or complaints about the tree clearing came from activists. So 7% of our industry were writing letters and lobbying. Do we need to get better at this?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I was at the rally the other day in Brisbane for the tree clearing laws that are going to be problematic for some producers in Queensland, and are going to be really problematic for rural and regional communities that rely on those farms. And so whether it's the shearers or the truck drivers or the pie shop or any service provider and people working in rural and regional communities, that's going to be a challenge. we certainly have to get more engaged. To hear this morning that 93% of submissions that went into the tree clearing legislation submission process were from people that were anti-farmers clearing trees, what it showed to me was there was just not enough engagement from farmers, and a predictable large engagement from those that don't like what we do to produce food for people to eat.
So a key message there is we need to work out how to get our stories out to the broader industry in a much better way.
We do, and I'm certainly not knocking our agri-political organisations. They are starved for capital. They're starved for good people because of that, and the people that are there do really work hard. But you see the rights activists have automated letter generating software. They also put out fact sheets for people to write letters and provide information, and we need to learn from that and continue to engage with government. We need to sell our story, and we need to continue to engage on what success actually looks like, what normal looks like, and continue to back ourselves up for what we need.
Yeah, perhaps there's an opportunity for more than just the industry bodies, that some of us can be hands on the ground and assisting in that process. I'd like to take you back to on-farm innovation. I know CPC has been doing some pretty cool things, putting necklaces on cows. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the necklaces we're putting around our cows probably don't have too many pearls or diamonds on them, but some of the initial trial ones might be worth that. But we've got in Uri Station, which is in the top end of the Victoria River District in the Northern Territory, a property that runs sort of circa 17,000 head of cattle today. We've got tracking collars on those cows. We've preg tested them and lined up their pregnancy windows. So we want to know the behaviour of that cow when she has a calf. We also want to know if they did die or they pass away or they get lost, how far they're walking from water. We want to increase calf survivability, we want to increase cow survivability, and we need to know what that cow's doing at all times. If that cow has a calf and she moves immediately, we send someone out to find out what's going on. It's only with data that we can learn more information. We're also in the process of getting ready to trial some of the movement collars and ear tags. There's multiple providers running pretty hard in that space, and we see some exciting opportunities to reduce some of our investment in fencing and infrastructure potentially, to potentially move cattle, change our grazing, or maybe it's just as simple as knowing where they are or knowing where bulls are. There's a bit that we don't know, but there's some really exciting wearable technology that's coming at us pretty quickly, and we're really keen to work out, is it a tool or is it a toy?
Fantastic. I certainly spent plenty of my youth floodgate fencing in that area, and I think anything to get rid of that would be sensational. And so what role is genetics playing in this space for CPC? What are you looking for?
I mean, we invest very heavily in genetics. We produce in a normal year just about all of our bulls, so we run about 8,000 to 9,000 bulls, breeding bulls at any one time. That means we need about 12 to 1,300 bulls every year. Last year we purchased about 550 bulls externally. Most of those were Angus and Brangus, Wagyu, Tropical Composite, and a few other breeds. We're really trying to put some more British bred content back into our Brahman herd. That's around increasing fertility and increasing rebreed. It's also about increasing our feedlot performance. Our northern business and our southern business, the ultimate carcass of our young cattle end up in a feedlot. So it's about increasing feedlot performance, giving us more market opportunities and options, and improving eating quality longer term. And whether DEXA stays in its current form or whether it evolves, we already get daily customer feedback in Indonesia from our customers about carcass yield, about red meat bone out yield. So improving the red meat bone out yield is really important, but to reiterate, it's about more carbs, more kilos, better survivability and more market diversity for us, that we're pushing some more British bred genetics further back up north. Do we end up with 50-50, 75-25, 25-75? Time will tell. Animal welfare will be really important, and productivity will be really important. So we're excited about the opportunities. The genomic testing opportunities in cattle are really, really cool with where that's heading.
And so we've recently seen Tyson Foods invest in an Israeli startup in lab-made meat, or clean meat as some people are calling it. They've managed to get the price from $800 a kilo down to $80 a kilo, and believe that by 2025 they're going to be at $10 a kilo. Are you concerned? What should the industry be doing?
Look, there's no doubt that the fake meats, fake foods, fake beef, whatever description I put at it is coming at us. I've had one Impossible hamburger, and not trying to knock the company, it was absolutely terrible. But it'll get better. They will get better. There's no doubt that product will get better. I think there's a couple issues for us. One, if we're going to increase by over 2 billion people in the next half generation, we're going to need every possible way to increase food production as well as decrease food wastage. So there's going to be competition, and we've got environmental restraints, we've got water challenges, we've got a growing move to stop tree clearing and to reduce emissions and all sorts of things. So there's going to have to be alternative food production systems and changes. The sort of lab-grown fake food, when we think about food, and I think about food, and the average consumer thinks about food, it came from a plant growing in the ground and maybe in hydroponics today, but it's definitely a live living plant, or it's a live living animal. And to then step into food that's lab grown, I don't even know whether it deserves the right to be called food. People will eat it as food, but is that what a consumer associates with food? Should we be talking about a different word or a different thing? But to move back to red meat and our industry, I think there's a really small window that we need to own the name beef, lamb, pork, and that needs to be owned, that it can only be filled by meat from an animal. And the window of opportunity for us to trademark and register the name beef, to register the name meat, and ensure that it can only be supplied by live animals is that the time is now. The lab-grown or cultured meat, it will, I think, fill a thin slice in the top end in the experience eating, high quality, a great story, and then it's going to fill into the bottom end, the lower, cheaper processed meats areas, the processed food area, the more factory generated food, food factory type thing, and lower income areas, and that there is no doubt that will create some competition for things like trim that come out of the carcasses that all of our cattle produce.
Time will tell. And so, Troy, you've become a bit of a master. Last year's beef, you predicted what the cattle market was going to do over the next 3 years relatively accurately. Give us some insights. What's your crystal ball looking like for 2018?
Thanks, and I mean, with the growth of Auctions Plus and the massive data set that you're sitting on, and I know Auctions Plus use that data appropriately. They're not like Facebook, but we could really, get some insights out of Auctions Plus, I suppose, on future data trends of price. My view is if you have to pick an indicator, which is the ECI, the new range is probably 450 to 550. There is no doubt it's dry and tough in New South Wales and Victoria, and certainly parts of Queensland and the Territory, and that's pushing cattle prices down. Rain drives cattle prices up as long as we don't have biosecurity issues or we don't have massive trade issues. I see probably the upside will be in the mid 600s, and the downside is probably going to be the 400 area. But the 450 to 550 is probably the range we're going to go in. In 2015, it's going to be high. I'm hoping by the end of the year everyone's had a good drink, a good rain, and we're sitting in the mid 500s by the end of the year. But that'll be rain dependent, and looking forward to your forecast on rain.
Oh, keeping it a little bit loose there, I think. So Troy, last question. What would you tell someone who's looking at moving into the ag space as a young person? You've gone from grassroots paddock, jackaroo, all the way to global CEO. What would you tell them?
I mean, there's just absolutely anything you want to do in your career you can do in agriculture now. So if you want to work outside, work on a farm, ride a motorbike, ride a horse, breed cattle, be a land manager, be a rangelands manager, there's plenty of jobs there. There's lots of jobs in tech now. I mean, ag tech investment is pretty trendy at the moment. There's ag tech conferences all around the world with investors looking to invest in ag tech. There's a huge amount of opportunity in automation, in marketing. We're globally, food, people who want to get more money for their product are embracing branding. We're seeing that here with all the meat brands. that are showcased here. There's opportunity in global branding, in asset management, finance. There is just so many opportunities. I think the people that can get some time on the ground, get some, for want of a better term, some shit under their boots, to really experience what the supply chain from the bottom up looks like, really add value to themselves and their career, and they can move into just about anything they want in the ag industry. I mean, the good thing is in the ag industry, hard work is rewarded, and there's lots of opportunity for hard work in agriculture.
So I think the hidden message there was they are recruiting over at the CPC tent this week. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Troy, for your time today. It has been really insightful. Really appreciate hearing about what you're up to. Tune in tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'm sure we'll have another interesting guest for you then. I believe Mr. Richard Norton is going to join us and share some industry insights. So Troy, you might be able to give us some questions for him.
Look forward to it.